to the Friday Brew after that fucking 7-second delay. I don't know how long it's gonna be after I cut it together, but it's not that long. The music, by the way, featured every single week is by rap artist and beat composer Imperfect out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Check out his music. I would do that. SoundCloud. He's got a Bandcamp. He's got free mixtapes on his website, so go check that out. Download those. If you want to hear some hip hop and some real lyrical shit, check out Imperfect. He's one of my favorite unknowns, pretty much, as I would call it. Which I think I'd like him better to stay unknown, because if he went mainstream, his music would be so much different. I don't want it to go mainstream. Stay who you are, man. Don't change. Don't. He's not gonna sell out. I already know that guy.
Fair enough. As
So,
an aspiring rapper, I appreciate that, but
oh yeah, dude. I'm the same way. Aspiring rapper. Who's not an aspiring rapper these days? You
right?
know?
I mean, shit. I mean, you got a pen and a pad and a dream. All you gotta do is write it down. I'm not gonna say that my stuff is anywhere near the recording quality, but it needs some polishing, obviously. But
Yeah, you're always your own worst critic too.
the whole thing
Keep that in
is,
mind.
I mean, if anything else, it's a poem.
Yeah, well, that's why I look at a lot of rap and a lot of hip hop, depending on the artist. But even with the artists that I don't necessarily appreciate or think that they're any good lyrically, I still try to take into consideration that they put thought. As dumb as it might sound, they probably thought, this makes sense for where I'm at. This makes sense for what I'm doing. This sounds cool. People will appeal to this. There's got to be some kind of thought process behind it. It's not just like brainless activity.
Well, I can
on.
appreciate that too. I mean,
Although I won't listen to it, but
yeah, no,
I still think
there's
that.
so much hip hop and rap nowadays that I will not listen to. But anyways, tattoos and piercings
Right.
inside the workplace.
Let's talk about it.
Extremely interesting thing. So, I mean, I'm tattooed, obviously, and my boy here's got a couple piercings.
I got tattoos. You just can't see them. When
That's
it's
the whole
summer,
thing.
when it's summertime, you'll see them.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Is one of the topics that, I kind of wanted to bring up was that this is an ever-changing thing in the workplace, especially in American culture today.
Now's the time when it's really starting to change, because I feel like our generation, what do we call the new generation or Generation Y?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, our generation has been. Previously, it's been you have tattoos if you're
a biker, a criminal,
or a rock star.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people have asked me, hey, dude, are you in a band? No, I'm not. I used to play guitar once upon a time ago. I was better as a cage fighter, but
Well, tattoos are pretty popular in the cage fighting world as well.
And that's the whole thing. Is one of my artists actually sponsored me on account of the fact that I was a shirtless billboard.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. The whole thing about that is that as an amateur, because you don't get paid anything as an amateur, but
well, you still when you enter a fight, you still come out with a cash prize, don't you, or a check?
Nah. If you're an amateur, you don't get paid for shit. And unless there's a tournament where there's a cash prize at the end, but otherwise you're doing it, man. And that's one of the biggest things is that as a fighter, you're doing it because you want to get up in the industry, and you're gonna have to take your lumps to get there, quite literally. And
yeah. So he did his work on you and then sponsored you because you obviously didn't have a shirt on in the cage.
Absolutely not. And he did the same thing with my boy, which you have a possibility of meeting here in the future, which I'm quite excited about. But
Which one was that?
His name's Jake Thornton.
Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you showed me him earlier.
Yeah, no, he's an interesting cat. He's the older brother I never had and the cat that taught me how to get in trouble. But
everybody's got that.
Well, he's
guy
the older.
That taught him how to get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, like he's the older brother I never had. So, all right. I'm my mom's middle and my dad's first, right?
Okay.
So I got both of those responsibilities put on me. But
mine's actually the opposite. I'm my mom's first and my dad's middle.
All right, nice.
So I know what you're talking about, man.
Absolutely.
Being the oldest on one side, you're responsible for setting an example. Well, coming after the one that's setting the example, you're supposed to be just as good as the one that came before you.
It's a hard expectation to live up to.
Yeah, they really pull on each other.
Being the middle and the first is such an interesting conundrum. But going back to the tattoos at work thing.
Yeah, so we got off topic.
No. Completely relevant topic. Definitely should be set for another podcast, but which we may or may not touch later in this episode. But whole thing about this. Anyways, whole thing about this is that. So, all right. The first thing I'm going to ask is how many of you have actually been denied and or, prejudicially excluded from a job due to tattoos or piercings?
I'd say it's definitely a pretty good number. I mean, I've had jobs. I keep going back to Steak and Shake because that was probably the strictest job I had, it's Steak and Shake. Like when I got a job there, we would come in when we weren't working. We're like 17 years old, drunk after a night of partying at somebody's house whose parents weren't there. Walk to Steak and Shake, walk in, make my own, dressed like how I am now. Walk in, make my own burgers, totally trashed at like 3 a.m. and just be like, all right, see you guys. Thanks for the free food, and nobody gave a shit. But like, still at the same time, during the day they were so strict. I have a tattoo that goes down to the back of my elbow, and my sleeve covered 85% of it, but that other 15% that wasn't covered,
dude, I feel you.
I had to wear sleeves that like came to my elbows, and it's not like it's not like I had something that was racist or something that was like offensive religiously or had bad words on it. It's like my grandmother died, and I wanted something to attach to my body that was permanent for me as a reminder to remember the things that she stood for in her life and a role model to set myself after. And so I put it on my body permanently, and you're telling me that I can't have that.
Well, that's one of the biggest things is like all of my tattoos are memories. All of them.
Yeah. Now, some people do have offensive tattoos.
No. Granted, yes. Oh, no. I've seen plenty of horribly offensive, just why? Why did you get that tattoos? But, the whole thing about that is like, especially for the tattoo community out there, I've met, and especially one of my artists in Colombia, they don't have any visible tattoos. But at the same time, they're so into it, they've been to Thailand and yet have gotten a bamboo needle tattoo.
I want one of those. I think it sounds so cool.
I mean, like, they're going to hurt like it's worse than any other tattoo you've ever had. But at the same time, I mean, this is how people used to operate.
Yeah. And
the historical significance of tattooing, and it's just one of those things that I feel like I need to speak on. Just because of the fact, I mean, even piercings, like, so, all right, New Year's Eve down in Austin, I got my ear pierced. There's been such a significant difference in between me having gauges and me having a cartilage piercing even in a workplace environment.
Really?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't think that.
I mean, you wouldn't think it, but I mean, I don't know. There's a certain part of me that wants to blame a Midwest culture, but at the same time, Midwest is where some of the best tattoo artists come from, especially piercers.
Yeah.
Too. I don't want to downgrade them for this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what I think most places, because owning a business is about making money.
right.
Why do you switch up the menu? Why do you offer new things? Why are you innovative? For one of two reasons. You're an artist and you're trying to make money. Those are the two reasons.
Well, and in that aspect, I want to go ahead and touch on as far as the artist aspect. All right. One of the most important things as a chef in any job I've worked in, any of the 4 restaurant jobs I've had, is this. Eat with your eyes. So, for example, are you going to prepare something and serve it to someone at, let's say a wedding. You're going to prepare something that looks absolutely horrid and expect them to eat it just because they paid for it? No, you're not. And if you did, that's just horrible business right there.
Terrible customer service.
It's kind of the analogy that was produced to me was like fishing. You were talking about fishing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You've got no arms, you've got no legs. What's the only thing that's going to make you want to bite this thing?
The way it looks.
Point in case. If you have something that is literally a piece of art that I'm going to serve in front of someone that's never seen this before, what's their reaction going to be? First impression is, holy crap, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's going to smell amazing. And if it actually tastes amazing, which, alright, I'm going to leave that up to each individual chef, because I've seen things that they look incredible. I've tasted them, they're not that great. But at the same time, I've seen some things that don't look that great, which have blown my mind. Not gonna lie.
No, but you have to find a good balance of both. You have to be able to have that ability to make something look good. And
absolutely.
taste good. Because presence, your delivery, in a sense, with the presence of what it looks like is almost just as important as what it tastes like.
Well, and even delivering that back to the point at hand. All right, so you have a server who obviously, all right, for example purposes, slicks his hair to the side or back, straight back. Is obviously wearing a very clean shirt, obviously takes care of himself, but you see tattoos on him, all right? I mean, so I'm talking about past that. What's your initial reaction, man? Like, all right. I feel like that's the, at least in, you have the restaurant industry, but you have everything else, crossing that.
Yeah, and I think as a business owner, in a lot of senses, and I don't agree with this because my mind is so not narrow that it's hard for me to even comprehend the thought process behind this. But as a business owner, you have to understand, there's people that will look down upon your service if you have people who have tattoos, because they look down on people who have tattoos because they don't appreciate a person for being a person. It's more or less judging a book by its cover, and in today's standards, not as bad as it used to be, but normally in today's standards, it's still biker, which is looked down upon because it's like a gang.
Yeah.
Biker, criminal, and musician, but 8 out of 10 times it's they're not going to think, oh, he must play guitar.
Well,
They're going to think, well, what? And someone who I think is going to be thinking negatively about tattoos in that sense, as long as they're not offensive, as long as they're nothing that Henry Rollins wore in Sons of Anarchy, as long as they're nothing like that, then I think there shouldn't be an issue. But
I'm glad you made the reference to Sons.
Yeah, dude, because that's kind of like almost every person I talk to. I'm a huge fan of Sons of Anarchy. I pretty much, if somebody's works at a tattoo shop, you can't lump everybody together, but if they work at a tattoo shop, they watch Sons of Anarchy.
Dude, absolutely.
Sons of Anarchy is a good show. I
It's
don't
an
work
amazing
work
show.
there. I got friends that one of my better friends doesn't have any tattoos or any piercings, and he loves Sons of Anarchy. It's a good show regardless.
Well, and that's the whole. It touches on so many different levels, especially like, okay, going into this, I'm gonna admit that kneecap is totally covered with an Anarchy sign. That's because of Sons of Anarchy, and not necessarily in the superficial. All right, I'm gonna reject society kind of way. There's a specific time and a specific moment that made sense to me, and it comes down to the patch over episode at the very end.
Which season?
Season 1, I believe.
Okay.
And it comes down to where it goes like this. The first time I ever read Emma Goldman was written in red in a bridge in Nevada. And then it goes from there. And it basically explains how,
Is that a monologue by Jax?
It is, and then then it goes into him reading John Teller's, his father,
right.
His father's, take on this. So it's, Anarchy stands for the dominion of, it goes through a certain sequence. Bottom line is, and what John Teller's message in this was if you want to defend true freedom, because most people want the freedom to be comfortable.
Yeah.
If you want to defend true freedom, there's bloodshed. There's obscene amount of things you have to do for it, and it's hard. And one of the things about that, it came to me on account of the fact that everyone in America wants the claim to be free, right?
It's the land of the free. That's what it's like the slogan.
It's a slogan, but yeah, it should have said the land to be comfortable. Because the whole thing about the Sons, and what you realize about that point, it's not the whole thing to be free. Half these motherfuckers are locked up.
Yeah, it's about being comfortable.
Exactly.
Freedom most times equals comfort.
Well, yeah,
think about your only day off work. Freedom, comfort. You wake up comfy. You have to worry about shit.
Well,
it's freedom. It's comfort. Yeah,
exactly.
I get that.
No, and that's the whole thing. And there have been obscene amounts of, poets, writers, film visionaries that have entitled this. Then you look at what you really want in a government, right?
Yeah.
I believe it was John Locke. I could be wrong about this, and I'm fully claiming responsibility for being wrong about this. But I believe it was John Locke that said that when a government produces more problems than it solves, such is the time for revolution.
That's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
With the current state of our country, because I feel like once you get to a certain point, things are so cryptic with the language that it's almost impossible for anyone, including including government employees and officials, to know who's causing problems and who's fixing them.
Oh, and it is too. I mean,
that's why the two-party system really is
well, and okay,
not efficient right now.
that's one of the reasons. Okay, I used to be a social major. I'm gonna throw that out there. The reason I switched, I became an education major. Yeah, your future's being taught by me. Whoops.
No, you know the right ideas.
Well, and the biggest thing about it is, I'm going to share the story that, inspired me to be a teacher was, in 8th grade, I had a teacher with tattoos. Every single one of them meant something to him. And this is kind of my inspiration for getting tattoos. So, every single one of my tattoos is a memory. It's nothing I can change. It's nothing I can run away from. It's nothing that I can have any interpretation on account of the fact that it happened. I can interpret it, and maybe later. By the way, great choice. Go ahead and show them what you got.
This is a Dead Guy Rogue.
Dead Guy Ale is one of my favorites.
Oh, okay. So then the flavor is Rogue. Dead Guy Ale, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Rogue is the manufacturer, but...
or whatever.
Dude, fuck it. It's amazing. It's amazing. But, yeah, so being a teacher. First of all...
It's pretty tasty.
First of all, one of the things I have to come out and say, my girlfriend, as a practicing psychologist, is going to make 3 times much as I am.
Yeah, I have a quarrel with how much our teachers get paid.
I have a horrible qualm with how much our teachers get paid. I mean, dude, it's a single foundation for, everyone else in this country that is going to come up and set our standards later on.
Yeah.
Whole thing about that is that there's this, and what I was saying earlier about my teacher with the tattoos. This guy, he was raised in Europe under a military brigade.
Interesting.
He learned how, the value of American freedom, I want to say during this late 70s and 80s. You can't quote me on that because this guy was kind of mean. He didn't actually talk to me that much. He kind of hated me. But the whole thing about it is this guy had tattoos. And each one of his tattoos was a memory. And each one of his tattoos was incredible. And the whole thing about this was that this guy, scariest teacher I ever had. Like, if this guy said he had a shotgun under his desk, god damn it, this guy had a shotgun under his desk. He was one of the most just brilliant people that made me the person that I am today.
What grade was it?
8th.
8th grade.
No, actually, 9th. Because I remember this man saying he'd never ever watch a soccer game as long as he lived. And then I show up to a opposing high school soccer game for girls because I was dating a girl that played on the team at the time. And, that guy was there. So I walked up to him. So, I'm going to have to give you shit about this publicly, right? He goes, Augie, I don't care what you have to do. You're going to do it, and you're going to do it right. Otherwise, I'm going to destroy you. End of conversation.
Fair. Duly noted. I'll remember.
I mean, the whole thing about that is this guy's conviction about, every tattoo that he has. And if you see people in the workplace with tattoos, that's kind of what concerns me, is like most of these people have actual reasons, they want to incorporate these things. They want to, well, incorporate may not be the right word, but immortalize. Let's go ahead and put that word in there. But
it's not one of the magic words, but maybe it could have been.
I'm trying to make it as magic as possible, but no, but like immortalize. I mean, like for every one of these tattoos that I have, which you can't see many of them right now, but I've got at least 13 tattoos, and each one of them are a memory. Something I cannot change, something I don't want to change, something I'm either going to learn from, or I'm going to take as a lesson, and I'm going to remember.
For the majority of people, I think tattoos always represent something symbolic of who they are.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a good reason to get a tattoo. And so when it comes to being in the workplace, whatever work it is, I think that being able to express who you are shouldn't be so looked down upon.
No, absolutely.
Because if let's say if you are a past criminal, well, you're like, if I go to a restaurant and I see a guy and he has something on his arm that says, I used to be a criminal. Straight up. And I may be a criminal again.
All right, fair enough.
Like, let's say tattoos said exactly what let's say they say exactly that. I used to be a criminal. I may be a criminal again. And he's the one making my food. You know what my response to that is?
First of all,
my brain, the way it works.
Yeah.
My response to that would be like, well, today I hope you make a good meal.
Right.
Because I'm paying for you, and I'm paying for it. I can't even imagine, actually, like, I can't even imagine that would affect anything. What would affect the way I think about it is how he talked to me, how he treated me as a customer, what his customer service skills were like. That's what I would think. Because
Absolutely.
More times than not, I found in my life that somebody who has no piercings, no tattoos, and somebody who is not willing to look past those things is the least customer service friendly person,
dude,
I've had to deal with in my experiences.
Okay.